Hey everyone, it's Charles Vaughn, Liquor CEO. I'm gonna drop another video real quick. Hopefully this one's not too long, doesn't run on. Topic today is, again, just a refresher. You know, a lot of folks call me, how much money do I need to do this? Um, we've already talked a little bit about, brand development, $75 to $100,000 to create a really good brand, do your market research, get your formulation perfect. There's that. Production, that's inventory. So whatever your cost is per unit times however many units you need. The magic sauce here lies in making sure you have enough inventory to handle the initial rush plus a reorder so you're not running out. So 99% of this conversation is going to be on marketing and activation. What does it actually take to build a brand in a market or a series of markets? I'm going to start off real simple and give you the raw tea. If you're expecting the distributor to build the brand and raise brand awareness, you've missed the boat. I'm not saying distributors don't put in and contribute some effort. That's not what I'm saying, period. What I am saying is that it's your brand. You need to manage and control the brand awareness and brand development program. Having said that, this 100% of this responsibility should fall on your shoulders. Anything you get from the distributor, consider it cake, extra, and enjoy it. So, what does it really take to develop a brand in a market? So, on-premise, off-premise. On-premise are places where people can consume the product on the property. Bars, restaurants, lounges. Off-premise, liquor stores, retail outlets, retail stores. Not everything's a retail outlet because it sells to consumer, but liquor stores per se, where you buy the product and you take it somewhere else to consume it. Liquor stores predominantly. So, my opinion is the best way to build a brand and to start gaining brand awareness is through activations. You need to start not only just putting samplings and tastings out there to let people taste and enjoy your product. There has to be a really strong messaging campaign behind it as to, explaining your value proposition and why you are, the brand of choice for whatever category you're in. What's unique about your brand? Let people taste it, let them experience the value proposition via the quality, the taste, the smoothness, the richness, the flavor, the sweetness, whatever it is you're making. If you're not focusing on, in liquor stores, on merchandising, tasting, samplings, where you host a table and you have promotional models or ambassadors doing this to let people start to taste this and have a point of contact with your brand, you're missing the boat. And not every interaction will lead to a sale or a bottle sale, but every interaction will lead to the opportunity for you to sell your brand awareness to the consumer so they know you exist. Maybe not in that moment, but it'll be in their mind. There's strategy that needs to be considered here, and how do you follow up on that? And it all stems with what data do you collect at that initial point of interaction. So your promotional team, your ambassador team needs to have a program in play that not only talks about your brand and lets people taste it, but capitalizes on that interaction so that they could provide you the data so you could continue the dialogue, the interactive dialogue with your potential consumer or consumer at that point. On-premise, bars, restaurants, and lounges, you need to be negotiating for that cocktail menu. You need to be negotiating for that bottle service placement. You need to be hosting a series of educational awarenesses with that service staff, bar staff, wait staff, and get them on board with your plan to really kind of start turn them into ambassadors of your brand so that when you have consumers coming in, you have the actual staff there hyping and talking about you too. That's going to come through a series of incentives. That's going to come through a series of educational programs, swag. It's also going to come to a series of events, that you can do. Hosting buybacks, where you go in and you start, your people go in and buy back from the venue and start to, host and entertain people and let them have experiences with your brand that you control. You're going to be able to start doing other things, sponsored dinners, seatings, whatever. Start doing events, food festivals, tequila festivals, rum festivals. In Florida, for instance, there's no shortage of tequila, rum, vodka festivals. There's bourbon and barbecue, which is going to get your whiskeys out the way, your tequilas out the way, your vodkas out the way. Come Cinco de Mayo and Dia de los Muertos, between May and November, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to push tequila. In South Florida, you're going to have the tequila and rum. There's a heavy Latin population in Orlando and Southeast Florida, obviously, so rum and tequila is going to go well. There's never going to be a shortage of getting involved with that. Get creative. Here's the rub. It's going to take money. Bottom line, it's going to take money. Money is a tool, so you need to have sufficient tools to do the job. If you're not looking at anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a month for events, on average, I think you're missing the boat. A state like Florida, for instance, is very big. 400 plus 400 plus miles north to south, another 400 east to west, and it's kind of weird shape. So you're not going to be able to do the whole state yourself. You need to have some folks to kind of help you out with the state. You may be able to handle part of the state. You may be able to say, listen, I'm going to break it up. But listen, Southeast Florida is huge, man. You can make a living just in Southeast Florida. The Orlando-Tampa corridor is another one. And depending upon the category of your product, you may want to hit the panhandle. Who knows? For some categories, it may not be, priority. It's not to say it's not important. It may not just be an initial priority. So you really need to kind of get that going. So 5 to 10 G's a month is to me, is a very reasonable expectation that you could do some effective control. And that's going to cover your events, your tastings, your swag, your merchandising, your POS. It's going to talk about your social media. There's going to be a lot of things in there that covers in that number. On top of that, you're going to need staff. You're going to need market managers. You're going to need territory managers to handle it. And so those folks aren't running anything out the door less than 70, 80 G's a year. So, I read it one time on LinkedIn that said, listen, what are you spending? Well, if they're making sales, they're not costing you anything because they're generating profit for you. So while you may spend 70, they're going to generate 150, making numbers up. So you're 75 ahead. So what you pay them is really irrelevant in the scheme of things because they're out there generating profit for you. And I agree with that. But you're going to have to put the time in to invest in them, train them, circle it back to your brand. What are your core 4 cornerstones, your 4 pillars of your brand? Keep that in mind. But, again, it takes capital. It takes capital. If you don't have the ability to afford a sales rep or a market manager or a market rep to get to that point where they're generating profit for you, you got to go back to square one and even consider the feasibility if you can handle this or not, if this is for you. If you can be that person and get out there and do it, the better. But where I run into this is founders do make good communicators of what the brand essence and the core elements of the brand are. They can be great to help, and they're certainly key and pivotal in developing a market. That's true. It's when they start trying to do social media, when they start trying to do all these other things, design work for swag and merchandising and things, where it starts to pull away from what they're good at or where they should be doing things. So I will tell you that I believe that you need to really kind of have a long, honest discussion and thought talk with yourself. Because if you're trying to do things that you're just not efficient at, you're really costing yourself twice as much because you're doing something very inefficient when you're taking away from something where you should be doing very well at. So that's my thoughts on what it takes to actually start a brand in this day and age. 2024 going into October, November, December. Less about visits, account visits. You need to be doing that in the summer, getting ready for OND, October, November, December, high season. But come that spring, that's when you launch new markets, activate, hit the ground running. Get into every account, shake those decision makers' hands, have a conversation with them first party. Do not rely on your distributor to do it. Believe me, the efficacy of those efforts will prove invaluable going forward. Charles Vaughn, Liquor CEO, 40-80spirits.com. If anyone would like to further the conversation, let me know. Hope all's well. Cheers and good luck in 2024 and 2025, guys.